Hey, what's happening, guys? Good morning, and thank you for tuning in to Rules for Rebels. Today's video is going to be kind of brief. Just wanted to share kind of a current event or business news that kind of ties into like marketing and advertising and social media and knowing your customers. And before we get into that, I figured we started off with a joke. So, how did Burger King get Dairy Queen pregnant? He forgot to wrap his Whopper. If I actually knew how to edit videos, I'd put in one of those drums. But anyhow, I digress. Today's story is about the World Cup. So the World Cup is going on right now over in Russia, and Burger King has found themselves in some hot water over an advertising campaign that I think they thought would be kind of funny, clever, maybe go viral, be kind of edgy. And in reality, it's just kind of caught a lot of backlash. So I think I'll probably wind up making the thumbnail of this video, that actual social media campaign, or a screenshot of it. I believe it was on a Russian social media site called like XRG or XVG. And it may have been shared across other social media as well. But basically what the advertising campaign was if a Russian woman were to become pregnant by a World Cup player, they would give her an award of $47,000 and a lifetime of free Whoppers. Now, the advertising campaign kind of played on sort of joking about something to the effect. I'm sure, a lot of times things get kind of lost in translation. A lot of times, like, my girlfriend's family will tell some joke in Spanish, and then when it winds up being translated over to English, it's like, it's not that funny, and it's like, oh, well, you really have to, have to hear it the way it's actually being told. Anyhow, it said something about, like, lay down and get the best genes for future soccer players. Maybe somehow it's funny in Russian. I think it's maybe lost a little bit in translation, but they've caught a lot of backlash for that. They were interviewing a number of both men and women in the story, and a lot of the men said they found it kind of funny, and a lot of the women said, it's kind of offensive, but we're kind of used to this. Apparently, at least from what people being interviewed said, is that, like, in Russia, advertising is kind of known for being kind of sexual or chauvinistic and kind of catering towards men. So they said, well, yeah, well, it is kind of offensive. We're kind of used to this. This is kind of to be expected. But I think it definitely teaches a lesson about kind of knowing your audience and what you can get away with. And while controversy can drive a lot of attention, sometimes that can be positive and other times it can be negative. And with this Burger King story, I think it's much more negative than positive. I think a couple things come into play. One is Burger King is a family restaurant. Like, they advertise to kids. They have whatever their version of a Happy Meal is. You can't really, like, market to kids in one advertisement and then, be making jokes about getting pregnant by World Cup soccer players in the next. And then I think another thing is the type of business. If this were a bar, if this were a vodka company, a beer company, okay, you might be able to get away with it. When it's Burger King, you're not going to get away with it. And then lastly, I think the size of the company. Smaller companies can kind of get away with edgier, more controversial things. If you're a McDonald's, a Burger King, a Chick-fil-A, Nike, if you're one of these big mega companies, people kind of tend to hold you to a higher standard. You can't really get away with that type of stuff. I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts. Is this funny? Is this offensive? One other kind of funny thing that came up, and this didn't seem to play well for Burger King really amongst anybody, but one thing I noticed is a lot of times controversy does actually, like, help sales or drive interest. Recently there was a video game out called School Shooter. Now, school shootings are tragic. There's way too many of them happening. And so for somebody to put out a game called School Shooter, and I think it was available on Steam, like the video game network thing where you can download games. It's not actually being sold in, like, Best Buy or whatever, but I guess what the game is you can either participate as a school shooter shooting people, or you can be the SWAT team trying to stop him. Well, kind of insensitive, kind of an insensitive game in general, but especially in light of some of the recent school shootings. But what's kind of funny to me is people give so much attention to this game by saying how horrible it is, that I think you actually wind up driving downloads of the game from people who probably otherwise would have never even heard about it or downloaded it, but who are like, well, shit, now I'm curious. Like, I'm just going to, if it's $5, I'm going to download it just to see what it's all about. I remember a few years back, somebody put out a game. It was called Dogfight, and it was on the Android store. And basically, you would raise dogs and feed them and whatever else, and then you would go put them in a dogfight and win prize money. Now, me personally, I have 2 dogs. I love dogs. I rescue dogs. I donate money to animal charities and dog rescues and things like that. I don't condone dog fighting. I would probably, you know, if I came upon it, I would definitely take some action and lump somebody up or something. But so by no means do I condone dog fighting. But when I heard about this game and all the uproar about it, I'm like, a dog fight? What the fuck is this about? So I actually, it was like 99 cents. I downloaded the game just because I wanted to see what it was all about. Now, I'm sure some people say, well, why would you support something? Well, I didn't, you know, I didn't want to support a dogfighting game, but it's like, shit, this thing's being talked about so much. Just curiosity got the best of me. I want to see what this is about, so I downloaded it from the Android store. It was actually a pretty stupid game, but the funny thing and kind of the point I'm trying to make is if I hadn't read a dozen articles talking about how horrible this game was, I would have never even heard about it in the first place. So, you know, not saying to be offensive or controversial, but sometimes controversy actually does drive attention. But, you know, not really a point to this video, just kind of wanted to share that story, thought it was kind of interesting. Figure we'd start doing a little bit more kind of current event stuff. There's only so many like tutorials and stuff that you can do. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about this story. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button down below. And until next time, guys, Rules for Rebels, signing out.